Hey everyone! Today I'm going to harvest some lemons from my lemon tree, and I'm also going to share with you my recipe for a citrus container so you can grow a bumper crop this year. And if you haven't planted your citrus yet, now is a good time, so I'll be sharing some tips for that along the way. Now, really excited about these lemon trees. We've actually already harvested probably 20 or 30 lemons from this tree here. And it's already almost in full bloom. And then this one, we've been harvesting some, but we've got a few more to take off. Now, a few little tips for harvesting lemons to know when they're ripe. What I do is look for the lemons that are really, really yellow. So that would be most of these down here. I think there's about 10. Let me show you a little contrast. There's one up there at the very tip top, and I may have to get a little step ladder to reach that. But can you see how it kind of still has a greenish tint? So that one's actually going to stay on, and we're going to go ahead and take off the rest because this tree is also starting to flower, and we want to get these lemons off so more energy goes into the flowering of the tree, and of course more fruit production. So these ones look absolutely beautiful. These are the biggest lemons I ever had, and I'll share with you in just a moment my secret sauce that I used last year that got me so many lemons, really a bumper crop from these trees this year. And I'm just super, super thrilled with it. Now at the end of the video, Jerry and I are gonna be enjoying a little tasty treat from our homemade lemons. So make sure you stay tuned for that. Oh, these smell absolutely delicious. Now the other thing I look for when I'm harvesting is that the fruit feels kind of heavy. Not only should it be nice and yellow, but it should be kind of heavy when you kind of lift it up here from the tree, which indicates there's a lot more juice in the lemons, and these ones definitely are. And I can even smell the flowers. This tree is just so fragrant. So I've got a couple more here to take off. These are by far the biggest lemons I've ever gotten off this tree, and definitely the most. I mean, these are just amazing. And just so you know, homemade lemons are so flavorful, and you don't need near as much juice, but what I found is they're a lot juicier too. They just have so much flavor that you can get away with using less juice in your recipes, which makes it really fun because then the lemons go a lot farther. So looking forward to making some yummy, yummy treats with these. And they actually last for quite a long time if you pop them in the refrigerator. And I usually keep them on my countertop for a couple of days, a day or so before I use them or juice them, because room temperature lemons are going to give you a lot more juice than cold lemons. Wow, I'm so excited about this. This harvest basket is just looking so beautiful. You get in here and take these off. It's a lot easier if you have a good pair of scissors to snip them from the branches. This one actually still has a little bit of green on it, which I didn't see before I picked it. It'll be just fine. One more down here that I can reach. Gorgeous. Now I'm going to need a step stool to get to the top of this tree. And the funny thing is, the other day the tree was kind of hanging over the fence. My neighbor actually asked me if he could have a few, so I very happily picked those and gave him 4 or 5 others. So it's also really fun to share your garden treats with neighbors. Now let me tell you a little bit about what these lemon trees are growing in. They're growing in a 30-gallon smart pot. We repotted these a couple of years ago. We originally planted them probably 5 years ago in an old wine barrel that just fell apart. So once we put them in the 30-gallon smart pots, they really took off. They were able to develop a nice root system because the smart pots are aerated. So it gets a lot of oxygen to the roots so they can take up the water and the nutrients. But last year, the secret sauce I added really helped them take off. I'll share with that in just a moment. Okay, let's get this one way up top here. It's kind of fun, actually, to think I have a lemon tall enough that I've got to actually climb on a step ladder. And I believe this is a Meyer lemon, or not a Meyer, I think it's a Eureka lemon tree, which actually tends to produce year-round. It does really well here in Southern California. For you northern gardeners, you definitely want to plant your lemons in containers because you'll have to take them inside in the winter. There's very few lemons that will withstand super freezing cold temperatures. The Meyer lemon, I believe, is a good one to plant for northern climates because it will withstand temperatures down to about 20 degrees. Okay, so this one, lone little lemon at the top, I am going to leave that one there. It's still pretty green. Oh, I missed one over here too. Okay, that one's green too. We're going to leave that one on. Now I'm going to feed them my lemon tree recipe so I get another bumper crop this year. I'm so excited. There's about 10 lemons here that we're going to use in a little recipe in just a moment. So I'm going to set those aside. And if you haven't planted lemon trees yet, now's a good time for you southern gardeners who are past your frost date. You can either plant them in the ground or plant them in a container like I have here. I'd say at least a 30-gallon smart pot really would be the smallest size I would go, because the bigger the pot, the more room the roots have to develop, and that way you're going to get more fruit. So it's worked really well for me. So let me know if you're planning on getting some established. For you northern gardeners, wait till after your last frost date, because it's going to be way too cold for them. And I would highly recommend, like I mentioned earlier, to plant them in containers. The Meyer lemon is very cold tolerant, down to about 20 degrees, and should work pretty well for you. But you will have to bring it inside in the wintertime. So just make sure you have enough space for that. Okay, so here's my recipe. What I like to do in the spring, as the lemon trees start to flower and grow again and produce again, is add number one ingredient to my recipe is, of course, compost, my favorite thing to add to everything. So I'm just going to sprinkle in a couple of handfuls of compost here at the bottom of my plant. And of course, if you haven't started making compost, now's a great time to start that too. Got lots of videos on that you can watch to get your compost going, no matter the space that you have, big or small. So I'm just kind of scratching the compost in here to the plant. Next ingredient for my recipe here is all-purpose plant food. Now this is the bumper crop granular fertilizer, and you really want to add at this point a balanced plant food, which means that each of the N, P, and K numbers here are pretty close to the same. It's okay if like you've got a 5 for the nitrogen and a 4 for the phosphorus, 4 for the potassium, but generally speaking, pretty balanced. And the reason for this is, for me anyway, my lemon trees are already starting to flower. So I don't want to give them too much nitrogen at this point, because the nitrogen is what promotes a lot of the green leafy growth. And I really want to be encouraging the flowering. We'll talk more about that in just a moment. So a nice balanced plant food is good when it's not too high in nitrogen. The bumper crop is a great granular fertilizer that I've been adding this season, and you can you can find a store that carries this over at Master Nursery bumpercrop.com. It's in local independent garden centers, and that way you can support your independent local garden center as well. So the compost and the granular fertilizer are both time released. Just kind of scratch that into the bottom of the plant. Now, as far as quantities for the recipe, it doesn't have to be exact. I probably put about 2 cups of compost, maybe about half a cup of the granular fertilizer. But you know what? Read the directions on the back of the package and then go with the container size that you have. Now, here's my secret sauce that really made my plants produce last year. It's Monterey's Dr. Iron. Now, what iron does is it helps green up the plant, but it also helps make the NPK, all the fertilizers we just used, absorb better and more readily available to the plant. So it really is like the engine, if you say, and the other ingredients are like the train cars. So I'm going to add about 1/4 cup to this size container of the iron, and you can see it's kind of a, I don't know, little pellets here, but it is a time-released fertilizer as well. So it will feed your plants over the next couple of months. And what I did last year is I applied Dr. Iron, let's get these weeds out of here, a couple of times over the growing season, because with container plants, you really do need to feed them consistently because they just kind of run out of gas. Everything drains out, and you got to keep the feeding going if you want to have more lemons or any kind of other citrus. And by the way, this does work for oranges, limes, other kinds of citrus trees as well. In fact, we've got an orange tree that we also need to feed. The next ingredient in my fertilizing recipe is Monterey Epsom salt. Now, I like to use Epsom salt at this point when the trees are already flowering because it helps with chlorophyll production. It's magnesium sulfate, and when you have good chlorophyll production, your trees are going to be nice and green. They're going to have better photosynthesis, which allows more energy to go into flowering and fruiting. So we add a couple tablespoons here to my 1-gallon bucket. I'll put all these links in the video description, but do make sure you follow the package directions depending on the size watering can that you are using. Now, little caveat here. If your citrus trees are not yet flowering, what you want to do instead of Epsom salt is use Monterey's fish and guano fertilizer. This has higher nitrogen, so it's going to encourage more green leafy growth. And then when they start to flower, you can switch over to your magnesium sulfate to water your plants with about once every 2 weeks or so, or I'd say more like once a month. Now, also, it's a really good idea to apply this rather than sprinkling it over the top of the soil, to apply it in water at this point, because I just added all that granular, all the compost, and it really needs a good root drench, a good soaking in to activate all those time-release fertilizers. So we'll just give it a good soaking. And with containers, what I like to do is water it until I see the water come out of the bottom. And you do want to kind of keep an eye on the moisture level of your citrus, because it actually does not like to be overwatered. It doesn't like to have what we call wet feet. So don't overwater it. Just make sure your soil is nice and moist. Check it in a couple of days, depending on what the weather is. Water it again, just with water, not with all the fertilizer. You can fertilize them about once a month with the liquid. And a couple times during the season, I'd say every 2 to 3 months with the timed release. You don't want to let the soil completely dry out, but you don't want it to be waterlogged either, because that could really lead to the roots rotting, and then you're not going to have as many lemons or citrus fruit that season. Now I'm going to put all my ingredients here in my bucket and go down and do the same to my orange tree down in the chill zone. Let's go, Mac. Come on. Good boy. Hey, Mac, can you help me out? Come here. Now this orange tree, my plans for this are to actually move it a little bit forward this year so it gets more sun. We'll be doing that hopefully soon to get CameraGuy's muscles to help me out with that. And we'll follow the exact same recipe for it. So I have a lot of good oranges this year too. What I like to do too is actually give the plant what's called a foliar feeding, which is watering the leaves. Now the leaves actually take up nutrients very, very quickly. So it's a good idea every couple fertilizings to do this foliar feeding so the nutrients are really quickly absorbed by the plant. And you'll be amazed at how quickly things start busting out when you do that. So I got my leaves kind of fed here. Can't tell you guys how fragrant these flowers are. They are so beautiful. And then we'll give it a nice good root drench again, like we did with the lemon tree up there. And I believe this is a Valencia orange, which does great here in Southern California. Wherever you live, just check with your local independent garden center. The people there are always so knowledgeable, and they can give you some good variety recommendations for your area. Feels really good to get that feeding done there. Give my plants my favorite recipe. Now we're gonna make our lemon recipe, but along the way, as we head upstairs, I'm gonna grab a couple of ingredients that we're gonna pop in there with it. Got some calendula flowers here. These are gonna go perfectly. And I need some mint right over here in the herb garden area. Can you guess what I'm going to be making? It's actually a little bit chilly out here today, maybe around 50 degrees. So this will be great to warm CameraGuy and I up before we've even had breakfast. The mint is just going crazy. We've had some rain and look at how green this is. I just love it. And it smells amazing. Okay, now for the chamomile. Before I get to the chamomile, I cannot resist picking a few nasturtiums. Any guesses yet what I'm gonna make? Such an easy recipe. I know you're gonna wanna make it too. Okay, I've got a few chamomile just busting out. These are such a gorgeous, delicate looking flower. It's actually an herb, edible, just delicious, and oh my gosh, so delicate and beautiful in the garden here. It just kind of spills over this raised bed. I only have a few flowers so far, so I'm not going to pick a ton, but just enough to add this to our recipe this morning. So pretty. Any guesses what I'm going to be making for this? If you guessed tea, you're absolutely right. Now, I'm so excited to use this teapot. Our son Drew actually got it for me for Christmas. How thoughtful is that? And it's a glass teapot that actually holds the heat for really a long time. The reason why I wanted it is because it will show all the beautiful herbs inside the pot. Very beautiful. And little side note here, what do you guys think about my new potting bench? We're actually using it for a table up here on the deck. Jerry's not quite done with it yet, but let us know if you'd like a video on how he made it. I'm so proud of him. He actually built it in just a couple of hours. Okay, so here's the fun part. What I'm gonna do is add in some of my herbs. Actually, I'm gonna add in my lemon first. I'm gonna pick the lemon that's the softest. That'll be the juiciest. You just give them all the little squeeze test. Ooh, this one feels pretty good. So I'm gonna use this one to squeeze lemon into my lemon herbal tea. Now, what I'm gonna do to get a little bit more juice, little tip here is number one, of course, make sure your lemons are room temperature, which they are, they're actually garden temperature, the best way to do it. And then I'm gonna roll my lemon to kind of break down the fibers inside the lemon, which will give me some more juice. And then cut it open. Oh, I just can't tell you how fragrant this smells. So delicious and so fun to use lemons right from the garden. This is absolutely gorgeous. I'm just so thrilled to be able to do this. So I'm going to take my little hand lemon squeezer, pop it in here. Some of the lemons are too big to fit, but I think this one will. Come over here to my teapot, which I've got some boiling water in. Has a cute little bamboo trivet as well, and a bamboo lid. And just squeeze this lemon juice, this beautiful, gorgeous garden fresh lemon juice right into my teapot. Oh, it smells so good. I'm just gonna use half a lemon. I can always add more if we want to, a little bit later. And then I'm gonna add in some herbs. We're gonna add in some mint for delicious mint flavor. Garden fresh mint, you really can't beat it. Just picking and eating right from your own garden grocery store. So pull off some of these leaves here. If you don't grow mint in your garden, you gotta get some growing. Make sure you grow it in containers though, because it can be super invasive. Then I actually picked some lavender from the front yard. So I'm just gonna, actually we'll take some off the branch, and how I like to do this is just kind of go backwards to kind of take the flowers off. Rub them in between my fingers and enjoy the lavender fragrance. It's so relaxing. Oh, it just looks so pretty. Pull off a few of the flowers whole. And let's not forget the chamomile. Chamomile is a super relaxing herb. And of course, an absolutely gorgeous flower. It's great for topping baked goods with for garnishes. And it's gonna make us a really delicious, relaxing herbal mint tea here. Actually have chamomile in my herb seed collection. So grab one of those. They're 40% off right now with the code SPRINGFLING. And we've got the calendula. These are in my cool weather flower collection. This tea is looking good. So beautiful. And let's top it all off with some nasturtiums. Also in my cool weather seed collection. Bring on those pollinators and bring on the tea. Okay, I'm just gonna give it a quick little stir just to kind of mix things around just a little bit, not too much. And then we're gonna put the lid on and let it steep for just a few moments. Our lemon herbal tea has steeped for about 5 minutes, and CameraGuy just couldn't resist coming out from behind the camera to give it a try. Because I know you've been excited about these lemons for a long time too, right?
They're gorgeous and they smell great.
Okay, I've got to take the lid off and just give this a little sniff.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, that just smells amazing.
That smells really good.
Look at the color. The lavender is making kind of this pinkish purplish color. It's so beautiful. I actually ended up slicing up a few slices of lemon to put in here and added a few little of the garnishes to our glass. This just looks absolutely incredible. Wow, and the smell is just amazing. Now this teapot has a little strainer so it doesn't let all the herbs go into your glass. So I just added a couple things to our glass here, some lavender, some lemon, some mint. I can't tell you guys what an amazing experience this is right out in the garden. CameraGuy, you ready?
Steam coming off of it.
And I love these glasses because they hold the heat as well. And they show the beauty of the herbs.
Oh, that's amazing.
Oh my gosh. I can taste the lavender, the chamomile, the lemon, the mint. Absolutely incredible. It is really hot, but what a relaxing.
Feels good on your throat, too.
It does.
Yeah.
All the herbs are soothing to your throat and the lemon as well. It's a nice light lemon flavor.
All from the backyard, too. That's what's really cool.
Oh, this is so good.
It is.
CameraGuy, thank you so much for trying this with me. And thank you all for joining me on the lemon tree harvest. And let me know if you're going to try my favorite citrus recipe for your containers this spring. And definitely let me know if you try our lemon herbal garden tea.
I'm all goo goo gagging over here because it's just so good and so pretty, too.
Cheers, CameraGuy.
Yep.
Thanks so
Cheers,
much for
everyone.
watching. See you next time in the
Bye.
garden.